Well, it's Sunday night, and you know what that means. Another episode of Keeping It Orange and Blue. I'm Ryan Schroet, joined as always by my co host, the Deuce Man, Urbana's finest, the best salesman around, whatever you want to call him, Kevin Ducey. Just trying to make you laugh a little bit, we're gonna talk some hoops today, which I'm super excited about. Um, glad that we can finally delve into that. These shows now going forward are going to be until football season's over, going to be half and half. We might even delve more into hoops on some nights when,
Probably next Sunday. Next
next
Sunday,
Sunday.
when all we'll do is preview Michigan State. So
Yeah, we'll just be previewing Michigan State, just like this week, we're literally just going to have a nice little 10-minute spiel and rundown on how we feel about the football program, some accountability stuff, and then we'll focus most of it on hoops. So thank you for tuning in. So while we have you here at the start, though, before we delve in and jump into football reaction, if you have not subscribed on YouTube, you're going to see me pushing that a little bit more. I don't like that we've been delivering stuff for 2 years and I see new shows that already have over 1,000 subscribers on YouTube and we're at like under 800. I think more people watch the show on X than anything, which is great. That's why we live stream. But if you are someone who watches this, subscribe on YouTube and we appreciate that. And if you listen on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, that's great too. But anyone and anywhere you listen, we appreciate it. So thank you. Kevin, I was in Champaign yesterday. I was at the game. If anyone didn't see my 5-minute video, it's on X and we'll talk a little bit about it here in a sec. But just from the beginning of the Illinois loss to Minnesota yesterday, 25-17, Illinois there was this vibe and feel inside the stadium where it was like you could just tell Minnesota was just a little hungrier. They cared a little more. And Illinois didn't really have that, like, we're going to go show you attitude. Like, we're going to go prove anyone who doubted us as a underdog at home wrong. And to me, that really bothered me. And it really played itself out throughout the whole game. Just couldn't get off the field in third downs. Just silly turnovers early, just allowing Minnesota to go right down the field after you get momentum and take the lead in the fourth quarter, to not really feeding a hand that's running the ball down Minnesota's throat, to getting sacked at the end of the game, allowing a sack on a 3-man rush. I mean, however you want to look at it, it was a team that did not play hungry, did not play smart, did not play sound. A very, very winnable game where Minnesota gave you momentum with a fake punt, couldn't capitalize in the red zone, 4 field goals, and it was there for them. And it was just almost like, And that's really what bothered me when you're in the stadium and you're watching it. There was some fun, the team dancing along the sideline, but it wasn't that same thing you saw at the Kansas game. It wasn't anything close to the Michigan game. And to me, really, that's what bothered me, and I'll delve into some coaching accountability after you go, but that's what I saw from inside the stadium. What was your take from yesterday's game?
Well, I mean, where are the fans? Like they panned to the north end zone and there were no students there. I understand it's Dad's Day, but why can't we sell the place out? Why can't we are 6-2 team that's been ranked for 7 consecutive weeks going into that game? Why can't we sell it out? Why can't we have energy in that building? Why? Because we lost 2 games. We lost the game at Penn State. We lost the game at Oregon. Those were the number 1 and number 3 teams in the country coming into yesterday. There is no reason, while this fan base has been begging for relevance and credibility in its football program, and all of a sudden you have it and you don't show up. And furthermore, do you not only not show up, but then the way that Illinois fans reacted after a loss yesterday to a good Minnesota football team, a team that's going to win 8 games this year, a team that, had they not been working in a brand new transfer quarterback, would probably won 9 games. I think they would have beat North Carolina. Had they played North Carolina today, they beat them. There's no question in my mind. So I just don't get what fans are expecting. Do they not understand that we won 18 Big Ten games in the 2010s? There's some ridiculous stat like that. I haven't verified it. I read it somewhere. I think I read it on a Illini board. 18 Big Ten games over a 10-year span. That's 1 in 8. 1.8, wins per year in the Big Ten is what we average. And all of a sudden we have a team that is on the way to 8 or 9 wins. What are we doing? What are we doing? Why are we not excited about this? Because could be our second 8-win season in 3 years, bare minimum. That's what I'm thinking. At bare minimum, it should be an 8-win season. It's our 4th consecutive year of being in contention for a bowl game going down to the last game of the season, where we saw plenty of seasons where that was not even the case. You want to talk about we lost yesterday. Yes, we lost to a really good football team, a team that's out recruited us every year with the exception of the last 2 years. And that makes a difference because football recruiting doesn't really rear its head. Guys who are true freshmen and true sophomores aren't out there really contributing all that much. As a matter of fact, one of the 4 stars that we got 2 years ago, Caden Fagan, is not able to play in this game. So I'm just very frustrated with our fan base that's just been begging for relevance, begging to be appreciated. We get on here, and it's not necessarily our listeners, but begging for game day to come. But we don't ever bring the energy. We brought it once for Michigan, then we lay down. We brought it for Kansas. Why can't we show up? And it's really frustrating to me. And I think the level of expectations, and yes, you and I are probably responsible for some of this, is that we had this delusions of grandeur of Illinois getting in the college football playoff, which it could have happened had they beat Minnesota on Saturday. Yes, and we understand that that's gone. But what would that have proven? We get in there as an 11 seed just so we can get mopped by the 6 seed because we're not on that level. Listen, everything, if you look at this team, we haven't bitch slapped a single team all year outside of Eastern. We struggled a little bit with Central Michigan. All the efficiency metrics just hate us. So, and here's my thing, and I know you're going to go off on the coaches, but I think the coaches have extracted with the talent that this team has. I think they've extracted quite a bit to win 6 games up to this point.
Not all the coaches.
I get that, yeah. But I think that this team has performed far better than we thought. I'll say this, and maybe I'm a little biased because Aaron Henry is my guy, but everybody is banging on Aaron Henry for some bad stuff. But listen, we came into the season, you and I, thinking that this offense would be much better than the defense, and we're not seeing that lately. This offense is regressing, and it's regressing where you'll get to your point a little bit on the offensive line. So, yes, Jason Rogers.
By the way, you agree
to win 5.5 games. I predicted us to win 6, and we got there in our first 8, and we have 3 winnable games left. Yep. I'm really concerned that we're going to have 42,000 against Michigan State week after next. And that's going to drive me. It's just driving me. I'm sorry. I'm very, very frustrated with the response by our fans after this game.
I couldn't see the whole crowd, though, Kev. I can tell you this. I don't know. I know that the west side was full. I saw the horseshoe was packed.
There's nobody in the student section. The student section was empty.
The student section was about 70% full.
It looked on TV about 20% full.
Yeah, well, I wish they would have showed it earlier in the game. You know what it is with college kids. At halftime, half of the 70% left. So I wanted to, and that's the issue. But in the first half, when Josh McCray had this big run or whatever, they were up there hyped, and it was. So here's how it works. If anybody doesn't know, 2 small pieces and 3 big chunks for the student sections to sit. The 2 middle chunks were all the way full. The next one about halfway full, and then the small ones on the side were like quarter. So really, if you fill them in from the middle in, all 3 big chunks would have been full. But yes, that means there was probably 1,500 open seats of a 5,000 seat student section.
It just looked
what
bad.
Was the total attendance, Kev? What was it? 50,000? What was it? I didn't.
58 was the announced total.
Okay, so I will tell you this though, the other fans besides the students, we were into it when the Illini team wasn't giving you really anything to get up for. For silly mistakes and allowing Minnesota to just march right down the field, stupid touchdown run from Taylor, fumbling the ball in your own end of the field. We still get up and shout. We were all up and doing it, right? Another third down conversion. So I want there to be, it not just being like Illinois fans aren't doing their part, though, because the normal fan, I think we really have showed up. And we're trying to put our best foot forward. And I don't know if it was 58,000, but I do believe 50, probably to 55 were really at the game. We were loud and I know this because I was getting up and down. And there were moments when the team was just so stagnant that we were kind of silent. I was getting pissy and people were getting groany. To me, it was more of just like shock because I get Minnesota. Minnesota is really like a team on our par, I think. Where we are now. Like they could easily be a top 25 team now. Illinois top 25 team. I think if Illinois had Minnesota's record, they'd be 7-2 probably from the North Carolina game. But with that said, it just was shocking to me that the team really wasn't more ready to go. It was more of like it took them almost a half to get going. And then at that point, then it's like anyone's game. And sadly, you come down and Minnesota, gets the lead around half and you miss the 55-yarder, then you let them kick they field goal you to death. And then we're like, all right, we get the touchdown in the fourth. That touchdown drive, right away was so deflating. And then, as we mentioned, the sack in the game when you had a chance to tie it, which I think they would have.
Yeah.
The whole game was really just a microcosm of that last play. Yeah. It was like we were always this, like, you just felt like the whole time we were right behind Minnesota. Even when you lead. Is that kind of how you felt?
Yeah, it felt like we were running up a slippery slope the whole game, trying to gain traction, then you slip, trying to get traction, then you slip. And I agree with I think it was the Illini 1990 said it. It's injuries and depth are what are really causing these problems here. And we saw the same thing rear its head a little bit in 2022. I think this is a very different situation because I think 2022's really had a dominant unit. And we saw that when they went to Michigan and probably should have won that game. I think we just, we had a letdown.
You're not annoying me. Do you think you're annoying the other fans in here? But it's,
we appreciate Sean. It's all good.
I'm just saying he doesn't annoy me. Nothing he says annoys me. So right. You might be annoying the people in the chat, but you're not annoying me. Right. But anyway, Kev, I know what you're saying. And I don't. Nathan says MSU is going to be a trap game. I think we're past that. Trap.
Yeah, I don't think there's any trap. I think trap games are where you get caught looking ahead. Josh Cox, Rosiak broke his ankle. He's done for the year.
Yeah.
I'd like to see my guy Huddle play. He gets in the game and gets a sack, and then we don't see him again. I think Odaluga might just be a gamer. I think he might not show it in practice as just a gamer. So one of the things, from the defensive perspective that I saw a lot watching this game and is we had Taylor boxed up.
Yep.
And then he would look, and then get to the outside, right? And we had great gap integrity. We had it stopped. We just couldn't get off blocks. There was plenty of times he got up to the line, there's nothing there, and he's able to shift and get out to the outside for 4 or 5 yards. And you know what that is? It's personnel. I also think people said there was quite a bit of holding that wasn't called. And my goodness, the holding call on Josh Getsky was something. Oh, geez, what a terrible call.
And what about the late hit on Luke Altmaier that wasn't a late hit?
Yeah, I don't know if it would have made a change, but it's just
there were some bad missed hold calls. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, it just was a frustrating game because it's a game they could have won, but it's not like we got beat by a bad team yesterday.
No,
we got beat by a really sound football team. We got beat by a football team that's been to a bowl game every year under PJ Fleck, with the exception of his first year, not counting the COVID year, right? Which is a little bit of a weird situation. So, I mean, that's a program that's been out recruiting us consistently. And one of the reasons why is probably put a few more fans in the stands. Somebody said earlier, that's why we lose recruiting battles, because we don't come out in full force. And I'm just a little frustrated that we've got our second season in 3 years where we're staring down 8 wins. And, I felt like, I felt we could have used a little more oomph from the fans on Saturday. And I felt like our reaction after the game was really pretty putrid, especially on the Twitterverse. So
what do you think about the Luke? I think Luke actually played a little bit better than he has?
I think that people are not giving Minnesota the credit that they're due. It's the number 1 pass defense in the conference. They were averaging 162 yards passing against them per game, and we threw for 226. I heard people say he was bad in the first half. First half, he was 12 for 15 for 135 yards. I mean, what were they talking about? He was bad. I mean, yeah, he had the fumble. I wish he would slide. There's no need for him to try and be a Superman there. And hey, in the defense yesterday, the defense basically gave up 19 points because the offense
kept Illinois in the game.
The offense gave them 2 short fields on turnover on downs and a fumble. right, which contributed to 2 field goals. The defense did a nice job holding the field goals in both situations. It's just I want to see some creativity and some flexibility out of Lunny. I love the first play of the game. We got Pat Bryant on the edge out in the flat. I don't know why we don't do that. We don't ever go back to the well. And like you said, Josh McCray, 7 carries, 72 yards. Okay, great. He had a 42-yarder. So that means 6 carries for 30 yards. That means 5 yards a carry. We only ran the ball something like 28 times. That guy should have had 15 carries yesterday. I get wanting to get Lawfrey and Valentine in a little bit. Yeah. I'd also like to see getting those guys in space, getting them in some dump offs. By the way, we ran a screen play to Valentine. I don't know why he was blocking. Like he was blocking when the ball hit him in the back. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, so I'm going to move forward before we, okay. I think
it was frustrating on so many levels.
It was. Kevin agree on this. Illinois is 6-3. There's teams out there. You want me to name the teams in the Big Ten right now that don't have 6 wins?
You want me to name the teams in the top 25 that don't have 6 wins to start the season? Michigan, Florida State, Oklahoma State. I could go down the list, dude. We've had a really good season where we performed over our skis.
Nebraska still has 6.
Right. They're not. They might not go to a bowl game.
Washington,
right.
5 wins. Hey, USC, 4 wins. I'm just saying here, folks, and I could keep going. Rutgers, who everybody thought was going to have a 10-win year, got 4 wins.
And it doesn't look like they're going to get many left on the schedule for them either.
Yeah, and I was about to say, Minnesota just got 6. Wisconsin, everybody, 5 wins.
Got dog walk Saturday.
5 wins. Okay. I think Iowa just got their 6th win? Yeah, Iowa just got 6. All right. And no, Jason, I don't think this is going to be 2011 that Illinois lost its final 6 games of the year. We'll talk about it in depth next week. MSU is just as banged up and beat up. And they may not have Aiden Childs. Even if he does play, he's going to have his hand bandaged and a sling and a wrap probably. We'll see how it goes. And it's also senior day. This game's going to mean way more than anything to especially the seniors, and there's no trap in front of them. I think any lures of grandeur, right, of the college football playoff are done, but it's leaving your mark on the rest of this year. Now, before we get to hoops, I wanted to say this for the accountability part. And Kevin, I know you don't agree with me on everything, but I think you agree with me on this focal point, especially for the offense. The players always are held accountable because we all talk about them all the time. And that's what most of the media questions are about. And people will jump on the players and yes, it's a player's game, right? Well, right. It's still a coaches need to be held accountable and should be. When you're making millions of dollars and hundreds of thousands of dollars, if it didn't matter, then they just have guys like me and you do it. Okay. But that's what your job is. And if it's your job, you're held accountable and to a standard. I would like anyone to tell me and explain to me where the Illinois offensive line has improved over a season. I would just give me the season under Bart Miller, okay? And I hate to pinpoint just Bart here. But there are other coaches as well. I have liked Barry Lunny, and I think he's done a better job, but I don't really think he called a very good game yesterday. I think what you made mention of calling calling certain protections and screenplays to freshmen like Khalil Valentine, who sometimes just acts lost out there on what he's doing in those situations. Why couldn't that have been a McCray thing? Why couldn't you put Lawfrey in that situation? Why are we not running Josh McCray more than 7 times? Like, these are obvious things that a fair fan who goes to some of the games can tell how good McCray was running the ball yesterday. And we just don't care, okay? Those things need to be asked, and I expect they will be. I know we're on a bye week this week, but the Illinois offensive line has not improved any season with Bart Miller. I don't think it's fair or right for Brett Bielema and it's his staff to keep guys around because you've known them forever. To me, it's a results business. You may get a offensive lineman here or there who gets drafted, but as a unit, which he has coached, which he is paid to coach, a unit, every year there's an excuse of injuries or depth or whatever it is. But this year, the interior offensive line has been dookie, okay? It has been bad. And if you want to rest your laurels on Kreutz is our guy at center. He's going to be undersized. He's going to battle, but running the ball behind him and around him ain't going to really do that much because he gets manhandled quite a bit. And if you're going to need a double team, Gesky and Chrysler get manhandled just as much. I don't know how many times I've seen Chrysler and Gesky running after their guy because he's broke through unabated, and it can't happen.
And not only that, you're seeing it with Henderson, who's a really talented guy.
Yeah,
you see that with him a little bit. And
Boyer, let me tell you this yesterday. Boyer whiffed so I don't know if you saw that play.
It's terrible.
It was like, and it was right in front of me, so I'm on the east side on the 20th row, so it's almost like eye level, I'm watching. Of course, the play was Luke's looking this way, right? And here comes the guy right by Boyer, like it's like ole, ole. And I'm thinking, oh, this must be like a misdirection or something. There's no way he let that guy that easily.
Well, there was also like there's some things that the offense is doing that doesn't make a lot of sense. We ran a pitch play. I think it was towards the East Main in the first quarter, very early on in the game, and it just gets blown up by a safety. I think it was the set of downs right after a first down on the first play, and you've got Hank Beatty out there trying to block a safety who just blows it up. I'm like, can I go down the list of guys I'd rather have blocking than Hank Beatty? Not knocking Hank Beatty. I love the kid. I think he's done a great job. But, dude, he's like 5'9", 180 pounds. Like Colin Dixon, Pat Bryant, Zachary Franklin, Malik Elzy, Alex Koepka-Jones. Like, I could go down the list, dude. Like, what? Like, there's just a lot of things that, like, I don't understand why Kanari Wilcher is probably the fastest guy on the football team. He can be electric with the ball in his hands. He returned the kickoff for a touchdown last year. And I don't understand why we can't ever try to get him the ball in space. Why can't we do him on an end around? Why can't we do him on a jet sweep? Why can't we get him in some kind of tunnel screen stuff? Which I think our tunnel screen stuff has worked a little bit when we ran it. And listen, when you watch games, and I don't necessarily think it's completely our defense, but you see sometimes, actually what I think it is that even when Luke has time, it doesn't seem as like we have guys who are just like wide open in the middle of the field and with nobody around them for a couple yards, and they can make it easy uncontested catches. We don't get very many easy uncontested catches for Bryant, for Franklin, for anybody, and I don't get why that is. And I think I'm a little frustrated with Lunny and some of the stuff that he's drawing up. But that being said, we still have 3 winnable games in front of us, and we could have a 9-win season, which would be pretty damn awesome. It'd be the second 9-win season since 2007. It'd be the third 9-win season this century. By the way, I'm going to go back to SDR, St. Dominic Rosary. I'm glad you can come in our chat and not pay for it. Like, you got to pay elsewhere in your super chats, because I've seen them bring up your name. They didn't want to answer your question the other day on another podcast. But
wow.
Yeah, I heard a shout out.
You're gonna have to tell me that, Kev. I don't know about that.
I figured it was my guy, SDR. He asked the question in another podcast, and they refused to answer his question. Hey, the reason why Minnesota's recruited better than Illinois this century, Minnesota is going to its 19th bowl game in 25 seasons, right? Count 2000. So 25 seasons they've been in 19 bowl games. Illinois is going to its 8th. That's why. That's why.
You can make your cracks. We're going to the Detroit Bowl, right? You can say we're going to the blah, blah, blah. It's Illinois going bowling, and I have a good feeling it's either going to be in Charlotte. And you know what? I'd be okay with Nashville, Kevin. If they go to the Music City Bowl, like down in Nashville, I'm okay with that. Like,
I would really like them to come to Dallas somewhere, but hey, that's just me.
We could get back we could go back to the Zaxby's Heart of Dallas Bowl. No.
I'll probably get what we'd have to probably pull a 2011 to make that happen. So let's do a little bit better than that.
Yes, but as we're going to transition here, we're going to transition to hoops, because I know there's plenty of people who want to talk about it.
And something brings up Northwestern. Northwestern's been to 14 bowl games this century. So, they started to get it turned around in the 90s, and it transferred to Fitzy, and so, yeah.
So, either way, me and Kevin aren't upset with where the program is. We hope that you guys can all understand that I picked 7-5 earlier in the year. A 7-8 win season should always be celebrated at Illinois, even one where you feel like could have won 9 or 10 games. And I think 9's still there, you guys. But I don't think anyone should complain if it's an 8-4 year. I just don't. So
I think I would be a little frustrated with 8-4 with what's left in front of us. I think Michigan State. It's funny is like we've had this like.
We've had a tough row of. I would love to see what our schedule strength is right now, Kev. I need to look at.
Yeah, you went 6 games were at Nebraska, at Penn State, Purdue, Michigan, Oregon, Minnesota, and at Oregon. I didn't say that, but like that's a really tough road. Like even if you want to talk that Nebraska's not that good, it's a really physical football team. We dicked around with Purdue, unfortunately, and then Minnesota's always going to be a physical football team. So it's one of those things like. Yeah, this bye week. I said it last week. I wish the bye week was this week. I'm glad it's now. I think the team can recover a little bit. I think they can get some things together. Even though the second half of the Purdue game was not really good for bye week, the first half was really nice. So Illinois is going to have to really come out and beat Michigan State, and 9 wins is staring you in the face. Yes,
because Rutgers is beat up even worse than we are, I believe. And Northwestern is not a good team. They're scrappy, but they just don't have a lot of weapons. And offensively challenged is a good word. They have a solid defense though, but it is in Chicago at Wrigley Field, and I think there'll be pro Illini crowd out there. So
it'll be majority orange in that place.
Let's get to it. Illinois hoops season opener tomorrow, Kev, against Eastern Illinois for the 3rd straight year. This Eastern Illinois team, remember, was beating Illinois for a good chunk of the first half last year until they broke it open. 80-52 was the final. This year's Eastern Illinois.
DGL's career high, right?
Yeah, his career high. This is a bet Eastern Illinois team that'll be better than that. I think they're picked 5th this year. So they're expecting them to be a better team. They have a lot of the same players. They've just gotten a little bit older. Marty Simmons, their head coach, obviously known very well from our staff. Jeff Alexander, he's a very good coach. He'll have his team ready to go, and it'll be interesting to see this dynamic with the young Illini. Their very first home game with a pretty lit crowd, just the inexperience, but still excitement. And as I have on here, the game's on BTN Plus for everybody.
Yeah.
So if you don't have Big Ten Plus, might be worth to try to get or borrow someone's login. Whatever you need to do to get her done. But one thing I have heard, I love the hype video from the basketball team. They not like us. Yeah, they had the raising all those trophies, and of course having Io to Sumu narrate it, and having the journey from where his career began to where we are now. It's pretty fun to see. Obviously, Kev, the big news, Big Tomislav Ivicic is cleared to play. So that's definitely exciting.
Yeah, he was actually a really big plus in the Ole Miss game. I mean, that was one of the guys I walked away from like, yeah, that dude can play. And that's nice to have that body. That he's got such a nice touch around the rim. Obviously, one of the things I liked about him watching his videos in the recruiting process was his ability to stretch the floor. I didn't realize he had such a nice touch in and around the rim. So he will give us a lot of additional firepower in the middle, and it really makes this, what my opinion, will be a more complete team. Because if he was not going to be eligible to play until, say, the Arkansas game on Thanksgiving, the Alabama game, I mean, still is going to concern me, but it would have really concerned me because I think that week we're going to need that. So
I have heard through the grapevine that DGL will not be a starter. So
where would you start? You start him over Boswell or KJ? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, he's looked at as a guy who's going to play 20 to 25 minutes a game, who's going to be that spark plug off the bench, who could probably be your Andre Curbelo, right? Your 6th man of the year type guy, who going to bring defense, and who's going to bring instant scoring the moment he comes into the game. So I'm trying to okay.
The Gumper.
So anyway, I'm not going to repeat it, but yeah. DGL is a guy that's going to be a spark plug who's going to play tons of minutes. And I don't think starting really matters. But remember, starting matters to the players. It's kind of hard to tell a guy like, hey, you're an important piece, but you're not worthy of the top 5. But hey, we love you. It's hard for a 19 and 20-year-old to understand that. But especially because he's been the man, and you've been starting your whole life. So it's just a little adjustment, and it's all about the winning culture. But I think at the end of the day, nobody in his camp should be upset if you see 20 to 25 minutes per game next to his name, which I'm expecting.
I don't think that any player on this team should be pushing the 30s on average. You might see it if we can't get guys to buy in, especially on the defensive end. So there was a question somebody asked: who do we think is going to lead tomorrow? Retired Plano AD. I like that question. Who leads the team in scoring tomorrow night? I'm going to go with probably one that's Trey White. I think that. I think when you look at Trey White's size and physicality and his ability, I think that's a guy who can really dominate a Ohio Valley Conference team.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Tomislav Ivicic. I think he's going to dominate in the post. He's got a smooth, feathery touch that's almost automatic from 10 feet. Just both hands, and he can stretch the floor. But you know what? I'd be pleasantly surprised with a Ben Hummerkaus going 4 or 5 for 5 from deep, or hitting 5 or 6 threes if you leave him open. Too many weapons, I think, on this team. I'm just excited. I think a fiery week of practice, especially defensively, after the Ole Miss game. I think there's a lot of regrets maybe about how they kind of looked defensively, but I think Brad Underwood got the result he was looking for personally.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
He wanted that. You got to have that, because let's say they went and snuck one out against Ole Miss, and then he's like, "We don't play a lick at D, and you guys got away with it." It's like, no, this is what can happen. You guys don't want to guard, and you guys want to turn the ball over 23 times.
Well, you saw the way that Brad handled the halftime interview when Illinois certainly didn't play well in the first half, and he was like the guy said, Brad would have talked to him for another hour. So, we got here, from Monday to Wednesday next week. We've got the opportunity here. We got 3 games under our belt. 2 of them are, for lack of a better term, just absolute must win, must dog walk Eastern and SIU. And then you get a pretty game Oakland team probably that's always messing around and being in the NCAA tournament before you end up going to Alabama the following week.
It's in Birmingham, but still, yeah.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's I what I would really like to see, I think this team probably plays loose and easy and just, we are so super talented basketball team. We all know that. We're number 2 in T rank according to talent, and I'd like to see them just come out and basically just assert their will against Eastern and let a lot of guys play and a lot of guys get some run. And Jake Davis might end up leading this team in scoring tomorrow night. Might hit 5 threes or something like that. So I'd really like to see Illinois just assert their will, and then we got SIU on Friday night. That's a Peacock game, so you got to pay for both games this week.
Yeah. That's a Peacock game? Okay. Yep. SIU, the old Peacock. Doesn't love a little cock. So
you want BTN Plus here for the fans. This is important. We got Maryland Eastern Shore on Saturday, the 23rd of November, and then I think we're done with BTN Plus. So you're going to need BTN Plus for a month if you want to be able to watch every Illinois game on television this year. So,
yep.
And then we're on Peacock a few times. So,
yeah, but also real quick here, we're going to do some. Are you wanting to are we doing a toast, champagne toast today?
Yeah, absolutely. I think some guys deserve it.
Okay, we'll do a champagne toast here shortly, but I will do some recruiting nuggets here as well for football, but some big ones at least. More basketball as the season goes. We'll have some visitors coming. I've heard maybe a Brown, the 5-star point guard, 2025.
Michael.
Michael Brown will be visiting at some point during the season. So we'll get that situated, and I'll announce some of that stuff as soon as I hear it. But for the Illinois football team, we're hosting some guys over the weekend. One of them was Torrey Cox's brother, Tywan Cox. and was a USF commit, track speed from Florida. I'm hearing really good things. I put a crystal ball on for him tonight that he's gonna flip his commitment from at USF and Alex Golish to Illinois.
A little bit longer, a little bit taller than Torrey, 5'11", longer arms.
Yep, kind of Nate Hobbish, very Nate Hobbsy, around 6 foot. Tracks type of speed, athletic, really good. And then Illinois sounds like their 2026 is going to start off with a bang with Michael Clayton from Florida, who's on campus right now, who was at the volleyball game today, who he's been really liking and digging Illinois, and they've been prioritizing him. I think that might be a real nice little bait for J.C. Anderson, and Max Sutter to say, hey, who could be a guy throwing us the ball? And Michael Clayton is a guy in 2026 I'm pretty sure is going to pick Illinois. So there's some football nuggets there, and they're looking to flip some other kids possibly too to finish off a nice 2025 class. So that's possible as well. I think Hurds, the offensive lineman, who's a Western Michigan commit, Hirdes is a name to look for a commitment to Illinois. He's visited in the last couple of weeks as well. So that's that. Now let's get to our champagne toast for the football team. Special teams wise, it sure as hell wasn't Hugh Robertson. I can tell you that, like a big dope. Like there was a couple times here where I'm like sitting here, I'm thinking, like maybe so. There are people who go to the game that just want to go try to enjoy a game with their families, and they don't have a lot invested into it. Well, I was sitting around a bunch of them, and I was the only one vocal about like some of this so in depth. I'm like, 30 yards again, Robertson. That's a joke, And everybody's like looking at me like, "What's your problem, dude?" They downed it at the 17. I'm like, we were at midfield. I'm like, what is that, dude? I'm like, you got to get him inside the 10, man. Like, or at the 10 or so. Like, that is unacceptable. So anyway, it was not Hugh Robertson. I would say special teams wise.
And it wasn't Ethan Molchowski either, missing a field goal and then kicking the ball out of bounds. Like the second straight week kicking the ball out of bounds. Like, can we knock that crap off? I mean,
one of my keys.
I wanted Delano to kick the field goal, and I want him to do kickoffs. He's got big enough legs.
He can make it from 55. I want everybody to know that.
The only
reason he missed that like 51-yarder against Kansas was because it was into the wind and it was blustery, way more than the Central Michigan game. And
the 49-yarder he hit against Purdue was into the wind, and it would have been good from 55.
Yeah, so I think they really should have let Alano kick that. And the ball against that field goal he tried had no chance the moment he kicked it. Like, you could just tell. I'm like, this is off.
A ton of leg to it. Yeah, 36 yards was Hugh Robertson's average. That's bad. So
yeah, so it wasn't the kickoffs team. David Alano made a field goal. I don't know. Let's just say the punt coverage, I guess. I don't know. They worked with their best they could work with,
Ethan really Table.
Yeah, Ethan Table. Or David Alano. He didn't miss a field goal. We'll just give it to David Alano.
Table did a great job down in that ball at the 1.
Yep. So we'll give it to Table. Cheers. Cheers. Let's go defensively. Defensively, Illinois did plenty of good things. The fact that they were shorthanded, I will say, having to have guys in there, other than Juice Clark giving up the 40-yard Hail Mary over his shoulder to Daniel Jackson.
Dude, have you watched the replay?
That was a beautiful ball and a beautiful catch, but go ahead. No.
I don't think the ball was that good. It was an unbelievable play by Daniel Jackson. You got to go watch the replay. The announcers,
he acted like the ball wasn't coming to him. I was watching that.
Those of us who watched the game on TV, I thought the ball was 5 yards out of bounds the way Daniel Jackson was running after the ball. So, like, I was just like, dude, that was just all on him. Like, he kept his hands quiet. He just kind of like looked, kind of like eased up in his route, like, oh, I'm not getting it. just amazing play by him. Just amazing.
From the stands, though, you could tell the ball was coming close to him, though. We knew it because it was
right. But he just did such a good. His hands stayed so quiet. His body started to get quiet. It looked like a receiver giving up on a route, and so then Clark doesn't turn around, and it was just a great play on their behalf. So, but yeah, I thought Jaheim Clark played well in the minutes he was in. I mean, the snaps he was in there, and he was obviously had to play a lot. So.
Defensively, I'm just going to give it to the unit as a whole. Like, I don't really have one person in particular. I know maybe Odaluga. He got a sack, right?
He's been one snap and got a sack.
I mean, can you get better than that? I mean,
yeah.
I would say the unit as a whole that was depleted played pretty good. I don't really have one guy to me that stood out because there was so much going. Like Xavier Scott was pretty decent in the first half, and then he's gone. Yeah. Corey Cox didn't play the whole game. We saw Patterson for a little bit, and then he was out. Miles Scott got kicked out from his targeting. There was so much rotation on the line. Gabe Akis had some pressures, where Brosmer had to scramble for his life and get rid of the ball. Aldaluga had a sack. Seth Coleman was kind of in there making plays, but
some pressures. I'd give it to Yakis on my bad. Yakis or Bailey were the two I was thinking of. I thought Gabe was
a clothesline tackle from Bailey on one of those rushes.
Yeah, I thought Gabe was disruptive, playing against an NFL tackle a lot of the time. I think the guy played really well. Matt Bailey would be my second one, so my toast goes to Gabe Yakis.
The whole unit for me for just playing and keeping Illinois in the game. And Gabe Yakis from Kev. I'll let you go first offensively. Who's your toast?
Josh McCray, man. Just like that touchdown run was special. I mean, his ability to keep his balance there. He slipped made a move, then slipped a tackle and slipped another one. Credit to that guy. Still runs hard, plays well. I really think the world of Josh McCray sticking it out at Illinois, and I'd like to see more of him next week.
And I'm going to get into this on my final thought, but retired Plano AD, who I believe knows the game, said it was a terrible targeting call on Scott. It was right in front of him. So, and I want to really delve into it so much on the final thought, so I won't mention anything there other than that. My offensive, I'm going to give it to Zachary Franklin. I thought he had a big game, a huge touchdown catch. I thought he had some big moments. He had an almost amazing top 10 catch where he dove and it was in his hands, but then the defender pretty much crumpled over him and crushed his skull. So he dropped it because I think he probably lost possible consciousness for a second. Because he was on the ground holding his head for about a minute after that. And that happened right in front of me as well. So we were all worried about him, thinking, oh, great. But then he got off the field and came back and finished the game. So I'm going to give it to Zachary Franklin. What's the deal with Brooks? Because Brooks did not play. Terrence Brooks did not play that in Saturday's game. He was out.
He was banged up, I think, too. So
yeah, so that's another thing. They got to heal up for Michigan State, and I think they will. So we're going to get to final thoughts. Kev, I'm going to start off if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Okay. So
mine's simple to the point.
Yep. Final thoughts. Here we go. What is actual targeting? So Illinois, Miles Scott, right, gets called for targeting. They go look and review it, and they confirm it, even though I think 80% of the crowd who saw it was like sure it wasn't. Retired Plano AD agrees. He said it was right in front of him. Okay, but they didn't call it that on the field, but then it got buzzed down, and then it gets confirmed targeting. The week before, Illinois, Oregon's player gets called for targeting, and it was targeting by everybody's indication other than the officials. They review it and then take the targeting away. So, Kev, I'm not really sure if anyone knows what targeting really is, especially the officials who have to mandate this and come up with some solution that there is a actual reasoning behind what is and isn't allowed. Because if it's just a discretionary thing, then we're just playing. We'll call it when we feel like it. Not if it's a black and white thing. It can't just be, well, we felt that he really meant to put a forearm into the face or he didn't. Because I'm sorry, Kevin, and maybe you agree, maybe you don't. If Miles Scott's play was targeting, and maybe you agree with that, then the week before, Pat Bryant was targeted. That's how I feel. And I don't know. I just am so confused on what is targeting. So please, I'd love for someone to tell me.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't get it either. I did instantaneously when I saw Miles Scott's hit, I thought that they're going to call that for targeting. So I did think that was targeting, but I also think that it was targeting. I thought it was targeting against Pat Bryant the week before. So
okay, all right. So basically, my point is your point. It's we don't know what targeting is.
Right.
Okay.
I also don't know what holding is. So. They can be referred to the Keefe third down where the Yakis or Coleman was just so blatantly held.
Yeah, that was the one where Bielema chased him. By the way, after the game, Bielema chased after the officials. I don't know if you guys saw this on the television or not.
Well,
big old Brett Bielema was running as fast as I've seen that man probably run since he played D lineman at Iowa. He chased those officials, and they ran off the field like a bunch of cowards. Man.
Well, the horrible part is the timeout thing. Like Brett was telling them, like, look at the clock. It's like the play clock's going to expire. He's like, look at the time, and they called a timeout before what Minnesota was going to get a 5-yard delay game penalty. Yeah. And it was just like, what in the world? Like it was just absolute nonsense. The officiating was like it was the last time we've had that officiating crew was a Michigan State game in 2022.
Imagine that.
Here's my thing. My final thought is next Saturday is senior day. There'll be one of my all-time Illinois favorite players. If you haven't seen the journey of him and what he's been through, Pat Bryant, it's really worth watching. This is a guy who committed early on and stayed with the program and didn't have to, and he's had a great year. He's still got a chance to tie the school record for touchdown receptions. He needs 3 in the last 3 games, which is not unheard of from him, especially when you're talking about the level of defenses that we're going to play, especially the next couple of weeks, are a little bit less than what we have been playing. Get out there and support that guy. I mean, there's other seniors that are hanging it up. It's probably the last time Gabe Akis wears an Illinois uniform. The way he's playing himself into an NFL role. It will be the last time Seth Coleman plays for the Illini at Memorial Stadium. And I love what Seth's given this program. A guy who could have transferred, who didn't. There's just guys. J.C. Davis, who gave us a chance. He deserves some flowers. Dennis Briggs, been through a lot in his college football career, has come in and played admirably. Like, wish we had a couple more of him. So there's just some guys that I think that really deserve the Illini fandom to come out and support. And then obviously Zachary Franklin came here and has been nothing but a professional on and off the field. So I just urge all of us to, I know it's probably going to be the worst weather day that we're going to experience all year, but just please, and it's probably going to be the stupid 11 a.m. kick. But just what's that?
On Peacock.
Is that right? Is that what?
Oh, I know. They haven't announced it yet. I was just saying it might not.
It's so different. We used to know, we'd know by Monday this week. Now there's some of those allowed. We still might know. I don't think it's allowed.
I announce ours tomorrow, but they'll do a good chunk of them next weekend probably.
So I just encourage all the Illinois fans just to get in the stands. So and support this team. That game will be huge. Illinois wins that game. I really, really like our chances to win 9 games. And like I said, 9 game wins seasons in my lifetime: 1983, 1989, 2001, 2007.
That's right. No matter what. And by the way, I just got a text from a recruit's parent basically mentioning the whole Illini fans showing up thing, that's really a worrisome thing from the recruiting front. So,
and I know who that is.
Yeah, they're watching the show, and I let him know that there was actually 55,000 people there.
Yeah, it just was really poor. It was really go watch the replay, Ryan, and you'll see that when they showed the North End.
The sound sucks too, man. The sound sucks from television.
Yeah, FS1's the worst.
FS1 really dimmed it out. I'm telling you. And this player and their parent were not at the game, so I'm just making sure that they understand that it really wasn't that bad. The student support was not great, but the Illini fans were there. It was a pretty full stadium, and we were decently loud. So, and I think sometimes it's okay for all of us to be humans and not be as loud when the team is looking lethargic and like they're kind of like, to then expect the fans to be like, oh, right, yeah. Like you kind of see what you get on the field makes you feel a certain way. And that's just as humans, So I think the fans did a pretty good job, and I've let him know that as well. But yes, FS1 sucks. For anyone who watches the games and the noise level, FS1 is the worst. And BTN's a close second, by the way. So anyway, don't worry. They didn't say they aren't going to come to Illinois because of that. They just said, see, that's what worries them sometimes in the recruiting front for other kids as well. It's like, oh, only 40,000 people showed up this week. Like, oh, we're fair weather fans, I think Illinois fans have really done a good job this year, in my opinion. So, Fade the Deuce Tuesday night.
Yeah. Oof.
And we might, Kev, I hope you're still rolling, baby.
No.
And we actually might have a really quick surprise interview episode with one of those players you talked about. We'll see. We just might, Kev.
Yeah.
Just